It is now 7:00 p.m. and I will call the meeting to order. Can I please get a roll call?
Counselor Anderson.
Here.
Counselor Blakely.
Here.
President Duncan.
Here.
Counselor Forbeck.
Here.
Counselor Keys.
Here.
Counselor Levy.
Here.
Counselor Preschel.
Here.
We have all counselors present.
Thank you. Can everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and afterwards remain standing? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
United States of America.
the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
Can everybody please remain standing? Please join me in a moment of silence honoring former Chief of Police Terry Fell, who passed away a week ago. He will truly be missed. You may now be seated.
We do have two special orders of the day, two proclamations. The first proclamation to be read is recognizing National Farmers Market Week, the week of August 2nd through the 8th. Whereas in the midst of a global pandemic, the award-winning downtown Beloit Farmers Market creatively modified operations so that patrons and sellers alike will experience a safe shopping event through the use of masks and social distancing. And whereas Wisconsin Farmers provides residents with access to locally and regionally produced foods through the Beloit Farmers Market, which accommodates the demand for a diverse array of agricultural products. And whereas farmers markets and other agricultural direct market outlets provide infrastructure to assist in the distribution of farm and value-added products, thereby contributing approximately $9 billion each year to the U.S. economy. And whereas the farmers market supports healthy communities, bringing delicious and nutritious food to the table, and whereas farmers markets promote sustainability of family farms, preserve farmland, and stimulate local economies. And whereas farmers markets are essential businesses, resilient and dependable in making seasonal foods available to the community. Now therefore, the City Council President of the City of Beloit does hereby proclaim the week of August 2nd through the 8th, 2020 as National Farmers Market Week in the City of Beloit, and encourages residents to attend the Saturday Downtown Farmers Market to support area producers that provide fresh, healthy produce for meal options. Adopted this third day of August, 2020. Regina Duncan, President. The second proclamation is in honor of the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution. Whereas the bold, courageous, and powerful women who fought for the ratification of the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution on August 18, 1920, deserve special celebration by the City of Beloit, especially on the 100th anniversary of its ratification in 2020. Whereas Wisconsin is one of the first states to ratify the 19th Amendment on June 1919. And whereas when Tennessee became the 36th state to ratify the amendment on August 18, 1920, the amendment passed its final hurdle of obtaining the agreement of 3/4 of the states. The ratification was certified on August 26, 1920, changing the face of the American electorate forever. And whereas in 1971, the U.S. Congress designated August 26th as Women's Equality Day. And whereas Wisconsin holds a special place in women's suffrage history, as many Wisconsin women advocated for the right to vote on the streets, in the newspaper, in the state capitol, and throughout the great state. And whereas the 19th Amendment did not guarantee suffrage for all women, including Native Americans who did not gain the right to vote until 1924. For Asian Pacific Islander Americans, it was 1952. African American and Latin Americans suffered voter suppression until passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and 1975. And whereas the fact that today women are active in local, state, and national government and are running for office in unprecedented numbers reminds us that we all follow in the footsteps of these resolute American suffragists, and the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution has played an important role in advancing the right of all women. Now, therefore, the City Council President of the City of Beloit does hereby recommend that residents and civic institutions celebrate the 100th anniversary of the passage of and ratification of the 19th Amendment, providing for women's suffrage to the Constitution of the United States. Honor the role of the ratification in further promoting the core values of our democracy as promised by the Constitution of the United States, and reaffirm the opportunity for students and adults in the city to learn about and commemorate the efforts of the women's suffrage movement and the role of women in our democracy and our desire to continue to strengthen democratic participation and to inspire future generations to cherish and preserve the historic precedent established under the 19th Amendment. Adopted this 3rd day of August 2020, Regina Duncan, Beloit City Council President.
Thank you very much, Clerk Stotler.
There are no public hearings, so that brings us to public comment.
We have now reached the point on the agenda for citizens to speak to the council about issues that are coming before us or may come before us in the future. Council members may not act on any requests at this meeting, but may refer a speaker to staff for assistance. We ask that you hold your comments to 3 minutes or less and refrain from personal attacks of any kind. Public comment is a privilege, and we expect everyone to conduct themselves in a civil manner. I will bring public comment to a halt if these rules are not followed. Speakers are asked to complete a public comment form or submit an email prior to the meeting. Madam Clerk, were there any public comments submitted prior to the meeting?
Yes, Madam President, I do have one email, and of course, is Corey Neville in the room? I got an email from Corey Neville that just basically said, I would like to address the council in regards to shutting down businesses, but there was nothing to it. So he did send something, but that was it. And Jeanette DeRosset, is Jeanette in the room? She said she would like to comment at the meeting on August 3rd, that she would be here in person, but she did not type out her response.
Okay.
Okay? And then finally, I received a letter from Anne Marie Demas of 1823 Risher Street. Dear council members, I've been a resident of Beloit, Wisconsin on and off for the last 27 years. I just finished watching the council meeting from 7/20/2020. I'm absolutely appalled at the way Greg Hatley was treated by the council. I realized that at the beginning there was a time limit stated and also that a concern would be referred to the appropriate committee or department. He wasn't there. Why was he not allowed to finish? If you recall, you represent all of Beloit. Mr. Hatley's business provides steady revenue for the city of Beloit, and you couldn't hear him out. I witnessed the Facebook post he was referring to. A lot of us did. It was very evident that this council member was attempting to do. Why would any council member put anything on their Facebook page that could have a detriment to any business owner? I've seen other posts from other council members supporting Marxist organizations. I actually voted for this person, won't be next time around. You represent the entire community. You cannot take sides. You have to remain neutral as an elected official. Mr. Hatley was not given any recommendations as to what to do with his concern. Instead, he was shut down by another council member. Where did you have to go that was so important that you couldn't listen to his concern? The meeting lasted at least another 50 minutes after he was shut down. I would like to see the public apology from the council member who put that on Facebook, then try to hurt his business, and I would like to see where you will refer him to take his concern. Do you have an ethics committee? That's where it should go. In addition, the council members should resign. That's all I have for written comment.
Thank you, Clerk Stotler. Are there any members of the public that submitted a form to address the council this evening?
Yes, Madam President, I have 3. And first up, we'll take Dan Drake. Please state your name and address for the record. And I'm going to start a 3-minute timer, and I'll let the president know when you have 1 minute left, okay?
That's fine. First of all, my name is Dan Drake. I live at 2115 South Powwow Trail, which is in Beloit Township. But I do own a business here in the city of Beloit. First thing I gotta say that I don't think talking in front of this body is a privilege. I think it's a right, okay? I think that is, we need to make that clear. Second thing is, my biggest fear is right now, this isn't about masks. This is about, my fear is that you guys are gonna shut us down again. Okay, we got shut down the last time, which initially I think was supposed to be 2 weeks, and it ended up being 2 months or whatever it was. We survived. Some of my colleagues did not survive, okay? I don't know that we can make it again. I have 12 people that work for me that depend on that business being open to make a living, to feed their kids, to pay their bills. And I don't know where this is going. I know this hasn't been stated, okay? But my fear is that we're heading for another shutdown of our establishment. This is gonna affect a lot of people, not just at my business. There's people here, obviously, that aren't here speaking, and a lot of them are probably afraid because they're afraid of repercussions if they do come up and speak. But I just wanna say that please take in mind that there's a lot of people that depend on going to work every day to pay their bills. And if we get shut down again, I don't know if we're gonna make it. We barely made it through the last time. So we got a couple months back in business, and if we get shut down again, I got 12 families that are gonna be hurting bad. And right now, the job environment, I'm sure, isn't good because of this. Now, I know this is a serious thing, but we need to keep that in mind as well. And I guess that's all I had to say. I wasn't prepared to speak tonight, but it kind of just fell into it. I would have been more prepared. I'm sorry. But please consider that.
Thank you very much for your input. Are there any other members of the public wishing to address the council this evening?
Yes, the next speaker would be Cheryl Rayner. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and I'll be starting a 3-minute timer.
My name's Cheryl Rayner. I live at 1326 8th Street, Beloit, Wisconsin.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm here to oppose item 12A on the agenda. According to the resolution, chapter 323 of the state statutes and section 110 of the local ordinances provides the ability to establish requirements to provide for the health, safety, and welfare of residents, which sounds nice. But what does 323 and 110 actually say? 323 of the Wisconsin statutes allows for emergency declarations resulting from a disaster or the imminent threat of disaster, which is interesting. 110 allows the city council to act to minimize and repair injury and damage resulting from disasters of all kinds. So I ask you, where's the disaster? We all know these statutes were written for real disasters like tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, bombings, and shootings. Imminent was 5 months ago. Total of 10 people have died in Beloit in the last 10 months from COVID. Statistically, they were very likely to have comorbidities. 10. I can count them on 2 hands. Positive cases in Beloit have been essentially flat since May. Even more great news is the case trajectory is down 34% in the last 2 weeks. You said the percentage of cases in Beloit as compared to the remainder of Rock County may be on a downward trend because of the actions taken by the council with this resolution. Well, now you're just making stuff up. You're saying if cases go down, we all lose because you claim it's from your efforts. But if cases go up, you say we can't fully open because cases are going up. Seriously? You renewed this resolution in July, and that's part of the reasoning for the new extension. We renewed it in July, so let's renew it in August. Why not? I ask why, since there's no emergency. Is it to keep the emergency funds rolling in? Bears mentioning that if you're receiving emergency funds when there is no emergency, that's fraud, which is punishable by prison. In your proposal, you also state, we know that physical contact and close proximity to other individuals may cause the spread of COVID-19. May cause is not a reason to extend the resolution. Deaths are approaching 0. In all of Rock County, there were 6 deaths in April, 13 in May, 5 in June, and 2 in July. There might be 0 in August. You are terrorizing the people of this city. There's absolutely no reason to keep playgrounds closed. Even in Janesville's are open because they follow Rock County guidelines. You are apparently making up your own rules as you go along. Stop using disastrous statutes to limit picnics, graduations, and weddings, to keep children off playgrounds, and to keep businesses and their employees from earning an honest living. You are intentionally holding hostage all the things we love. Keeping bars, churches, and salons closed or at limited capacity is a roundabout way to limit our freedom of assembly, and it doesn't give us a chance to openly talk about how draconian and unlawful governments have become. I keep saying there's no disaster, but I'm not being entirely truthful. There is a disaster, and it's the government's response to this virus, not the virus itself.
Thank you for your input. Are there any members of the public that did not sign up that wish to address the council this evening?
Our next speaker is Christine Raleigh. Please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Christine Raleigh, and I live at 1518 Euclid Avenue in Beloit. And so, as I said, my name is Christine. I am a wife and mother of 4 children, and I have enjoyed living in Beloit for a little over a year so far. And I'm here today as a citizen who's eager to learn more about how local government works, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't really know much. And so I'm here just as a very beginner, kind of, just trying to learn, as well as simply express some thoughts concerning COVID-19 preventions and control. I feel that I agree kind of with lots of the things that have already been said here, but it just seems odd sometimes to me that there is, the face masks are being, I know that it's a state mandate now, being urged and everything like that and advocated for so much for multiple reasons. It seems just odd to me as we are told to slow the spread, and after months without masks in Rock County, that less than 1% have died. And so it feels like we're told that this is a vast, deadly, fast-spreading virus, and both the percentage of people who have tested positive and died are very, very, very low. And so it just concerns me that it seems odd that we're trying to ramp up things when it just seems actually not necessary. As well as I have a concern of different types of prevention methods and things like that. I don't necessarily understand like the end point. It doesn't seem very clear ever, given that, oh, well, once we reach this kind of stage, then we won't need masks anymore. And so I don't know if just in further going out, it can be help the public understand a little bit more like the end point of when things, what goals we have to hit maybe to no longer have these types of prevention methods and whatnot. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your input. Are there any members of the public that did not sign up that wish to address the council this evening?
Our next speaker is Kim Mork. Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, and I'll be starting a 3-minute timer.
Mork, 1608 Liberty Avenue, Beloit, Wisconsin. I'd like to talk about masks. Masks decrease oxygen intake. Breathing through a mask decreases the amount of oxygen we need to live and be healthy, increases blood acidity, and makes breathing difficult. It increases toxin inhalation. Toxins that we normally exhale as we breathe become trapped in the mask and re-inhaled into the lungs, increasing symptoms. It shuts down your immune system, decreases oxygen intake, increases carbon dioxide and toxin intake, putting body under stress, releasing cortisol, and shutting down immune processes. It increases your virus risk, encourages triggering an infection from dormant retroviruses already in the body, taking advantage of a weakened immune system due to mask wearing. Scientifically inaccurate. Virologists measure COVID-19 to be 80 to 140 nm in size, making the weave of material masks to be the equivalent of a chain link fence to a mosquito. The effectiveness is not studied. Absolutely no peer-reviewed studies have been carried out of mask effectiveness within a social environment to control, prevent, or eliminate the spread of disease. However, there have been studies that compare cloth masks with medical masks in healthcare workers, and this is from the British Medical Journal. And it says the rates of all infection outcomes were highest in the cloth mask. Penetration of cloth masks by particles was almost 97%. moisture retention, reuse of cloth masks, and poor filtration may result in increased risk of infection. Cloth masks should not be recommended for healthcare workers. That's healthcare workers, not common people. Particularly in high-risk situations, and guidelines need to be updated. It also says that the results could be interpreted as harm caused by cloth masks. So I really don't understand why we are made to wear cloth masks when they are ineffective and they cause harm. And all of you people are breathing in carbon dioxide in high levels. OSHA regulates 19.5 is under 19.5 oxygen intake is dangerous levels. And as if you put a measure underneath your mask, you will find out that it immediately drops your oxygen intake below 19.5, which is OSHA regulations for dangerous. And also it shoots up the carbon dioxide levels above 5,000, which is the safe, normal carbon dioxide level. So you're all being very unhealthy by wearing masks. If people think that I'm gonna wear a mask to help someone else, you're only hurting yourself, and you're not helping each other. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Are there any other members of the public that did not sign up that wish to address the council this evening? Are there any other members of the public wishing to address the council this evening? If so, please come forward at this time. The public comment is now closed. I would like to now move up items 12A and 12B up on the agenda, please.
Item 12A is a consideration of Resolution 2020-127, approving an extension of Resolution 2020-103 related to COVID-19 prevention and control in the city of Beloit.
At this time, City Manager Curtis Luther will present to us.
Thank you, Madam President. In response to the governor's order and reflective of data specific to the city of Beloit, staff recommends the Resolution 2020-127, which both amends and extends Resolution 2020-103. There is a continued lack of a reliable cure, a vaccine, or herd immunity, as well as increased rates of infection locally, in addition to hospitalizations. The proposed ordinance ensures that the city of Beloit is compliant with the governor's order and that physical distancing and protective requirements remain in place to minimize spread. The city of Beloit has been committed throughout this entire crisis to safely reopening the economy while protecting the health of residents, businesses, and visitors. To clarify, the city of Beloit has never shut down local businesses and was one of the first to introduce a resolution statewide that allowed businesses to safely reopen. The city's local authority under Chapter 323 of the state statutes and Section 1.1 of the Code of Ordinances provides the ability to establish requirements necessary for the health, safety, and welfare of its residents. In the past week, there has been another fatality in the city of Beloit proper. 27 additional positive cases. Prior to that week, there were 588 laboratory confirmed cases. Again, that has increased by 27. And we continue to have a larger proportion of cases in the city of Beloit compared to our percentage of the population in the county. So staff stands before you with this proposed resolution that simply codifies the governor's requirement for face coverings with the same limited exceptions. And I stand prepared to respond to any questions you may have.
Thank you, City Manager Luther. First, we'll take a motion. So can I have a motion to approve the resolution?
Nancy Forbeck, I so move.
Moved by Councilor Forbeck. Is there a second?
Counselor Keys will second.
Second by Counselor Keys. We'll go down and get input from counselors. Vice President Anderson, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, I just want to thank staff for making a clear report for us to read.
Thank you. Counselor Blakely, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, thank you.
Counselor Forbeck, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
Well, I guess just to comment in reference to the public comments that we've been listening to with care is that the statistics and information we have on both the spread and the seriousness of this disease and the effect that wearing a mask has on the spread of this disease is we are going on totally different numbers than the speakers. So I just want to say that's why I am moving to pass this resolution.
If I may, Councilor
Go
Forbeck.
ahead. Just a moment. Thank you so much, Counselor Forbeck. At this time, City Manager Luther has a comment to make.
I just wanted to remind the public at large that all of this information is available on the city's website. We receive data specific to the city Beloit on a weekly basis from Rock County Public Health. Daily information is provided at a county level, and that is available on the Rock County Public Health website, and we reflect it also on our own. So all of this information is readily available. There is nothing hidden. This is the information that we receive. We do not generate it ourselves. And so it is there in full fashion for everyone in the public to view.
Thank you for the information. Next, Counselor Keys, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
I have comments. I just would like to highlight that Wisconsin's initial statewide approach resulted in numerous successes. So the flattening of the initial curve, the delaying the first peak of wave 1, and really helping prevent our hospitals from being pushed past capacity, and really a decrease in new positive cases locally and statewide. And that was really appreciated through early June. And that statewide pandemic response was working. Unfortunately, after the order was repealed and no other statewide action was put in place, there has been a steady increase in COVID-19 cases statewide. And from the legislature, there was strong support of local leaders to act accordingly based upon what is best and safest to help keep our community safe. As mentioned by our city manager, Beloit's cases, our precautions have helped keep our cases from going up as fast as others have seen. And I just want to say and highlight, this has a lot to do with the swift action that we've taken. Just implementing and maintaining base level pandemic precautions in the face of the continued threat of COVID-19. So again, I want to thank all of our city employees who have dedicated so much time and energy to the city's pandemic response. And I also want to acknowledge that I know that COVID-19 has caused immense stress and strain on all of us, emotionally, physically, socially, mentally, and financially. And that in the face of this additional stress, I have really seen the true strength of our community. Many neighbors are helping neighbors. Many people are donating their time. And I am confident that if we continue to lead the way locally with these base pandemic precautions, with social distancing, wearing the mask, good hand hygiene, and we can really beat COVID together. So thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Keys. Counselor Levy, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, I don't.
Counselor Preschel, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
I have, I've mentioned it before, I'll ask again. But let me preface that by saying, in the absence of leadership at the national level and other levels down to the state, absence of a clear message, a clear strategy, has forced a lot of decision-making down the chain, right down to the local level that we're experiencing, we're seeing here. I would love to see us go by whatever the county is going by, but even the county has failed to adequately communicate that guidance. So we're left with little choice but to do it on our own. I would just like to ask the city manager to clarify again that this measure is just to localize what's already being done at the state and county level. If you can do that, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead. You have a comment, City Manager Luther?
Yes, in response to Councilor Preschel's question, what we have done here in the city of Beloit is we have looked at the data specific to our population. We have then made recommendations that are consistent with state guidance at the time, and we have been in partnership with Rock County to the greatest degree that we are able. So the information before you this evening is absolutely consistent with the governor's order. It places the city of Beloit and positions us so that as additional decisions are being made locally, the requirements here within the city borders are clear, and there hopefully is less confusion about what is expected. So our intention was to be as consistent as possible while also recognizing that the case numbers in the city of Beloit have been disproportionately high compared to the rest of the county.
Thank you. And I have a comment to make on this.
I had a follow-up. I'm sorry.
Oh, you have a follow-up question? Okay, go ahead, Councilor Preschel.
I had a follow-up. Once more, we're putting this out till our September 9th meeting for reconsideration, and I would just like to put it out there that perhaps we should do this like we did initially at every other meeting, because things change, and in between now and September 9th, we have a holiday. I would just like to be prepared to reconsider this. I don't know if we need to go through a whole proposal, or just to put it on the agenda to be updated, or I don't know how to put it, but so we can go back to that every council meeting, review and reassess. That would be my preference. I just want to put that out there.
I'll have City Manager Luther respond. However, I believe that information was in our packet, but City Manager Luther, can you respond, please?
Certainly. So the recommendation at this time and the resolution as drafted is in effect until September 9th. There is nothing that would preclude the council from taking action prior to that date. It simply states if no action is taken by that date, it would terminate. So if a councilor so chooses, an amendment to the resolution could be offered. If it is critical that there be an earlier date certain, however, as written, there is still the opportunity to reconsider prior to that date. Again, it simply would terminate if no other action is taken before September 9th.
Thank you. At this time, I'll give a comment. The Beloit City Council remains concerned about the health and well-being of our entire community. These minimum safety requirements helps us all stay safe while our businesses reopen. We are grateful for everyone who has been taking care of their neighbors by wearing a mask and maintaining their social distancing. These actions will help us to save lives. At this time, there is a motion and a second to approve the resolution. I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Vice President Anderson.
Aye.
Councilor Blakely.
Aye.
Councilor Forbeck.
Aye.
Councilor Keys.
Aye.
Councilor Levy.
Aye.
Councilor Preschel.
Aye.
President Duncan.
Aye.
That motion passes unanimously. You also moved up item 12B on the agenda, and that item is consideration of Resolution 2020-128, establishing a temporary moratorium on Class A intoxicating liquor and fermented malt beverage licenses.
City Manager Luther, can you please present it this time?
Thank you. The City Council and the Alcohol, Beverage, and Licensing Committee members have held a couple of joint workshops over the course of the past year to discuss the quantity and density of off-premise retail sales of alcoholic beverages, otherwise referred to carry-out beverages. Concerns were raised regarding licenses for off-premise retail sale of alcoholic beverages that have the most impact on unsupervised underage youth and binge drinking. Partially due to the city's response and recovery efforts related to COVID-19, the city needs time to review and evaluate potential legislative changes desired in Chapter 31 to better regulate the retail sale of off-premise alcoholic beverages within the city. Therefore, a temporary moratorium on the issuance of Class A off-premise retail licenses is proposed for a period not to exceed 6 months after adoption of this resolution for pending or new licenses, unless ended sooner by further action of the City Council. This proposed moratorium would not limit the issuance of other classes of alcoholic beverage licenses under Chapter 31, and another workshop joint with the City Council and Alcohol, Beverage, and Licensing Committee will be held in the future. I am prepared to respond to any questions you may have. The other information has been provided in the council packet that is also available online.
Thank you. Can I please have a motion at this time to approve the resolution?
Councilor Pressure would like to make that motion.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilor Preschel. Is there a second?
Second by Councilor Blakely.
Okay, we have a second by Councilor Blakely. Now I'll take comments and questions from councilors, beginning with Vice President Anderson. Vice President Anderson, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
Yeah, just a couple comments, and then I have just a question about a future agenda item on this. So first off, thank you to staff for bringing this up. It's something that I've personally been concerned about, and I'm glad we're moving on it. Just a question about item 7A as it comes up. Assuming this does pass, does that item get removed from the agenda? What would be the procedure on that?
So if this resolution is passed by the City Council this evening, then there would be no action on item 7A, and that as a new license request would also be in moratorium for 6 months. We would return the $50 fee for application review, since it would not, pending this action, be moving on to the Plan Commission. Alcohol Commission. Wrong commission.
Okay. Any
Okay,
other
thank you.
questions?
That's all the questions I had.
I was just going to say, did you have any other questions? But it sounds like you don't, Vice President Anderson.
No.
Okay, thank you for that. Councilor Blakely, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, thank you.
Councilor Forbeck, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No questions, thanks.
Councilor Keys, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
I just have one comment. Prior to joining the city council, I was on the ABLCC, and about a year and a half ago was part of the training, and just want to comment that this was part of the initiatives that the ABLCC was looking at and moving forward, and I want to just thank staff for looking at another way to help keep our community safe.
Thank you. Councilor Levy, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No.
Councilor Preschel, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
Well, I just want to thank staff for remembering this, and it was a concern Beth Jacobson and I both expressed a couple of years ago, and we wanted to see some more, a better, clear policy directive on that. I know we were looking at two different maps. Actually, it was the same map, but we were looking at it two different ways. That was a bit of a concern, and I'm looking forward to addressing this while I'm still on the city council sometime in the near future. Thanks for bringing it back and remembering it. And hopefully when things normalize, we can go back and look at this again and come up with a solid policy for the future.
Thank you, Councilor Prushel. At this time, there is a motion and a second to approve the resolution. I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Vice President Anderson.
Aye.
Counselor Blakely.
Aye.
Counselor Forbeck.
Aye.
Counselor Keys.
Aye.
Counselor Levy.
Aye.
Counselor Preschel.
Aye.
President Duncan.
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. We return to item 6, which is the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered at this point on the agenda.
Thank you. Would any counselor like anything removed from the consent agenda? Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, including 6A through 6I? Is there a motion?
Nancy Forbeck, I so move.
Okay, there's a motion by Councilor Forbeck. Is there a second?
Second by Levy.
Second by Councilor Levy. At this time, there is a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Are there any questions or discussion? I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Vice President Anderson.
Aye.
Counselor Blakely.
Aye.
Counselor Forbeck.
Aye.
Counselor Keys.
Aye.
Counselor Levy.
Aye.
Counselor Preschel.
Aye.
President Duncan.
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. As reflected earlier, this evening, the City Council voted on item 12B, so due to the moratorium in place, the City Council will not be referring item 7A tonight. There are no ordinances or appointments. That brings us to councilor activities and upcoming events.
And with this, with the council activities and upcoming events, councilors may also want to share committee reports. So we will begin with Vice President Anderson.
Thank you, Madam President. I have no updates from my committees, but I do have some things that I just wanted to share. This last week, I was at the Beloit Farmers Market volunteering. It's really good to see that everybody is wearing masks and doing everything they can to be responsible. I know when we first had the market, there's a little bit of rocky start to it, but it looks like it's really shaping out and working well. So I'm really glad to see all the volunteers, vendors, and patrons doing what they can to stop the spread of COVID-19. After that, I did stop at the Merrill Community Garden and did see Councilor Keys weeding bed of tomatoes. So thank you for doing that, and thank you to Caleb Lowcrantz for all his work on that garden. It's looking really, really good. Just a couple upcoming things. This Sunday, August 9th, is Regina Duncan Day, and I wanted to let everybody know how special that day is. You will have a chance to help out for Family Promise of Greater Beloit. It's a great organization. It's a good one to definitely get out and support. So thank you for that, Regina. 4 to 8 p.m. at Culver's, a portion of their proceeds will go to Family Promise. So Sunday night, if that's the day you usually go out, please stop at Culver's. It'll be for a good cause. And then just a couple more things. There is a chance to get public input on the transit development plan between now and September 1st. There'll also be a couple open house dates this Thursday, August 6th, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the Beloit Transfer Center, which is 225 Sherland Avenue, Saturday, August 8th, 2020, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Beloit Public Library, also at 605 Eclipse Boulevard, and then Wednesday, August 12th, from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., again at the Beloit Transfer Center, which is 225 Sherland Avenue. Please give your input, especially if you are a patron of the transit system. It's important that we get this right. I have faith in the plan proposed, but we definitely want to hear your thoughts. The last thing I'll share is just get out and vote on Tuesday. Hopefully you've requested an absentee ballot so you don't have to vote in person, but if you either haven't requested a ballot yet or you're nervous about sending it in time, we do have in-person voting. You can either vote early, absentee, at City Hall between now and Friday at 5 p.m. Please correct me, Clerk Stottmeyer, if I'm incorrect. And then the polling locations on Election Day, wards 1 through 12 would be at the Beloit Historical Society, which is 845 Hackett Street. Wards 13 through 25 would be at Central Christian Church, 2460 Milwaukee Road. So I know there's only one thing on the ballot here in Beloit, but it's still important that we get out and vote every election. I think I say this every time we have an election coming up. You can't complain if you don't vote. So get out there and express your right to vote. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Vice President Anderson. Councilor Blakely.
Thank you, President. As Vice President Anderson said, getting out and voting at every election is very important. And the people on city staff and so on who help with the vote are working extra hard right now during this pandemic. So please do exercise your right to vote. I want to say that I appreciate our entire community, and I want all of us to be prosperous and healthy. So in light of that, I want to apologize for asking a question about a specific local business online. The time of this pandemic is so stressful, and I think right now it is especially important to maintain civil discourse. So please remember to be kind and respectful, not just to yourself and your own family, but to others, because we are truly all in this together. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Blakely. Councilor Forbeck.
I really have no report this evening. Thank you.
Councilor Keys.
Thank you, Madam President. I have no report from the Parks, Recreation, and Conservation Advisory Commission due to the pandemic. They have not met since February, and the next scheduled commission meeting is scheduled on Wednesday, August 12th. Regarding counselor activities, I did want to highlight a few of the things that community events I've been active with. So over the past month, I've been able to start volunteering with Beloit Plogging again. Beloit Plogging is a group that walks or runs around the city and picks up litter or discarded garbage as they go. And within the last 4 weeks, along with additional volunteers, we have picked up over 50 bags of garbage from our sidewalks and streets that would have otherwise polluted our waterways and green spaces. And I just want to thank all of my fellow residents who volunteer their time and energy to help keep Beloit clean and beautiful, along with our city staff. Last weekend, I attended a peace walk coordinated by MW Prince Hall Grand Lodge and the Unity Grand Chapter, and it was a terrific event supporting peace, unity, racial justice, and civic engagement. Fellow council member Kevin Levy was one of the guest speakers, and he shared the stage with other community leaders, elected and unelected alike. And I must acknowledge and thank everyone for complying with COVID-19 precautions, wearing masks, and social distancing at that event. This past Friday, I volunteered with our Friends of the Riverfront for a couple hours, weeding, raking, and pruning along the entrance of Riverside Park. And I want to highlight all the hard work of our Friends of Riverfront as they continue to do a great job helping the city maintain and develop our beautiful Riverside area. They're a group of coordinated and committed individuals and always eager to welcome more volunteers. And so at present, they meet at Riverside Park every Tuesday and Friday morning, 8 to 10 a.m. And I greatly enjoyed volunteering and would love to see more of our fellow community members out there soon. As Vice President Anderson mentioned, I have been able to volunteer at the Merrill Community Sharing Garden. It's another terrific volunteer opportunity, and Harvest is ongoing and a wonderful resource for our community. I also want to just acknowledge the difficult decision made by the school district of Beloit and state that I very much respect the decision and the leadership in the face of COVID-19. And all of us want nothing more than to be able to return to safe in-person education and opportunities for our students. So I want to highlight that the decision was for the first quarter, and as everyone in the community, this leaves us with a terrific opportunity to lead and help achieve control over COVID-19. So in order to get our students back in the classroom, we really must all come together and apply and encourage others to apply all of the basic pandemic prevention precautions, social distancing, good hand hygiene, wearing a mask, avoiding large gatherings, and limiting travels. Because success with these measures will help us gain control and will really help our students and our children. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Keys. Councilor Levy.
No comments.
Councilor Preschel.
I would just like to report that at the last board meeting of Visit Beloit, we voted for it and selected the final bid for the Phase 1 remodeling of the former Angel Museum property. We'll go ahead with a complete remodel as originally planned. So we've chosen the contractor, and there's be a 120-day process to remodel the building. So don't know exactly when it will start, but it'll be 120 days for them to transform the building into a new site for Visit Beloit offices and meeting spaces. And it should look just grand at the first level, Phase 1. Phase 2, the additional building and everything has been put off until I believe it was 2024 at the earliest. So it'll be some time before things shake out enough to go ahead with that part of it. But for now, Visit Beloit's getting ready to get it done and move in down there, so it'll be great to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Preschel. Now for my report. First, I want to wish my granddaughter, Ariana Duncan, a very happy birthday. She will be 16 years old on Friday, August 7th. I'm so proud of her. So happy, sweet 16, Ari, if you're watching. Next, I want to encourage members of the public to please take safety precautions, visit and shop Beloit businesses, including downtown. Also, if you're interested in putting your talent to good use, please consider volunteering to serve on one of the following committees. We have our Alcohol, Beverage, and License Control Committee. There's one vacancy for a Tavern League representative. The Board of Appeals, there's one vacancy for a resident, one vacancy for first alternate, and one vacancy for the second alternate. Then we have our Board of Review Committee. There's two vacancies for alternates. And the Landmarks Commission, there is one vacancy for a resident. For more information, please go to the City of Beloit website or call the Executive Assistant Pam Lathrop at 608-364-6614. Next, for my counselor activities. I was honored to represent Beloit in the laying of the Keel on Wednesday, July 22nd in Marinette, Wisconsin. And I would like to share a brief note from the program brochure explaining exactly what that means. Laying of the Keel. The laying of the keel celebrates an important milestone in the life of the future USS Beloit, LCS 29, and marks a significant event for the construction of the nation's 29th Littoral Combat Ship, LCS. Once commissioned, the future USS Beloit will be the 15th Freedom Variant LCS to join the United States Navy fleet. Lockheed Martin, Thick and Terry, Marinette Marine, and Gibbs and Cox, along with the industry's team's 800-plus suppliers, are proud to be building Beloit for the United States Navy. So, with that said, I also want to thank Fairbanks Morris for their history of supporting the United States Navy and manufacturing a large percentage of the Navy's large medium engines, including the one that is going in the USS Beloit. And special congratulations to our very own Major General Marcia Anderson. She grew up in Beloit and broke through barriers to serve our country as the United States Army's first female African-American Major General. She will be the sponsor of the USS Beloit, having her initials inscribed on a plaque that will be placed on the ship's keel. We applaud Major General Marcia Anderson for her accomplishments. Also, thanks to our city manager, Senator Tammy Baldwin, Fairbanks Morris Executive Rhett Merriman, and all those involved in making this possible. What a great tribute for our entire city. In addition, thanks to Sarah Millard, Director of Strategic Communication, for all her assistance. In closing, I ask that we keep the family of retired Beloit Police Chief Terry Fell in our thoughts, hearts, and prayers. And regarding COVID-19, which is a topic we heard from many people in our community, and we certainly understand how you feel. But we, as a council, understand that we all, our entire community, have to take this pandemic very seriously. We have to wear a mask or face cover, wash our hands, cover our coughs and sneezes, clean and disinfect surfaces, and keep a safe distance. Together, we can prevent the spread of COVID-19 and save lives. This ends my report. Next, we will go to item 11.
There is no further report under the city manager's presentation, and you already addressed items 12A and 12B, so that brings us to adjournment.
I'll now accept a motion to adjourn, please.
Counselor
Nancy
Keys.
Forbeck, I so move.
It sounded like Councilor Keys made the motion. Was there a second?
Nancy Forbeck, second.
Okay, second by Councilor Forbeck. Hearing any discussion? Hearing none, would all in favor please say aye?
Aye.
We are now adjourned, and this ends our city council meeting for this evening.
Goodbye.
Good night.